Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Friday, January 24th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. Pete Carroll, new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and we'll do a little NFC AFC championship game preview and predictions, which will obviously continue into tomorrow's stream as well. And then on Sunday, it's going to be a very busy day where we're going to be doing the AFC and NFC championship game. So I'll be starting, around noon, right when the game starts, and then we'll probably won't be finished until probably around 7:30 p.m. on Sunday. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Happy Friday to everyone. We'll be shooting for 20 likes within the first hour, 30 to 50 if we get the volume, and obviously 100 in the donos on every single stream. But we'll get into, obviously, Pete Carroll and the Raiders. We'll go over some of the, maybe advantages for some of the teams in the AFC and NFC championship game scenarios. And we'll go over not only that, but, who's got the strengths, who's got the weaknesses, who's got the advantage at the different skill position, players. And then on top of that, we'll go over the actual final picks on who I think is going to end up winning this year in the AFC NFC championship game, and then going to the Super Bowl. I got the Blazers on right now against the Hornets as well as SmackDown there in Texas. Can't wait to be able to see what we get here. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and then we'll get settled in right away. Missed you guys. It's been a minute. And I had to give you a creative thumb. Hey, Pete Carroll, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go. And again, 3-year deal with a 4th-year option. And I got a lot, to kind of go over. We obviously know some of the criticism was maybe Pete towards the end, maybe wasn't the best evaluator. But as far as, head coach, this is going to be a really good thing for the Raiders. This is a hell of a better job than the Chicago Bears. Now, obviously having the kind of a USC connection with Caleb, even though he didn't coach them. But I feel like the Bears, and the Raiders, I don't want to say that both of these organizations are dumpster fires, but it's going to take a lot. And it's not going to be something that's going to be turned around by anybody in the first year. It's going to take 3, 4, 5. And by that time, we may not see Ben Johnson as the head coach in Chicago, and we may not see Pete Carroll fulfill his full 3 or 4 years. But if they can, build staffs around those guys, you never know, but I definitely feel that Pete gives you leadership. They already have Brock Bowers. And, again, they can always be looking, for like a free agent quarterback, Kirk Cousins. You could look at, a Jameis Winston. You could have a reunion with Russell Wilson. But the reality is, if it was me, I would definitely try to trade up a couple spots and see if you can get a guy like Cam Ward. Because the thing is, if Pete Carroll can get Cam Ward as his starting quarterback, right, even though they need offensive line and they need some more skill position players, running backs, since Josh Jacobs left to the Packers, more wide receivers since Devontae Adams left, obviously, with the Jets. So you're going to need offensive line. You're going to need some running backs. You're going to need some wide receivers. You got the tight end of the future in Brock Bowers, so that position is solidified. Defense needs a hell of a lot of work, right? And we know this, right? But I just kind of feel like, if you end up getting the right person, I wouldn't trade up for Shedeur Sanders. To me, he's a little bit too like his dad, a little bit too me. And I think that, the Raiders and Pete Carroll, they need a team guy. And I think that if they were to go that route, not only would the Raider fan base be happy, compared to getting like maybe a veteran that's a little washed. Like, I don't think anyone in the Raider organization, Raiders, they're not going to get excited saying, hey, we got Pete Carroll and we got Kirk Cousins, no one's going to care. Ooh, we got Russell Wilson. They're not going to care. Jameis Winston, they're not going to care. They're going to want to be able to have a quarterback tight end duo. I'm not saying that they will do this, but if something like that, were to happen, that could be the one single thing that could save Pete Carroll's job and having him last more than his contract. To be able to get enough wins, for the Raider organization to believe in Pete, baby steps year 1, get better in year 2, and again, year 3, and year 4 would probably be the time that if they hit on their draft picks, collected a good staff with good, management around these players. You found a quarterback of the future, whether it be Cam Ward or maybe someone else in next year's draft, which seems like it's going to be a pretty deep draft in 2026, much deeper than this draft. But if Pete can find a quarterback and then build around that particular piece, around 3, year 4, year 5, that's when you should be able to see a little bit of a turnaround for the Raiders. And that's if everything goes right. Now, if obviously they pick the wrong quarterback and they miss on draft picks and they have shitty management and Pete's not able to construct the right team that would be best suited for him and the Raiders, then they're just going to be exactly where there are right now, where he'll last a couple of years, they'll get impatient, and then they'll fire him, and then again, just going kind of in the circle of looking for other coaches. But what I will say is that I think the Pete Carroll hire, and obviously Tom Brady had something to do with that, with being a part owner, of the Raiders, and being able to bring someone in. I definitely would have rather had Pete Carroll fitting for the Raiders, and let's say Ben Johnson was still out there. Ben Johnson, you are a great play caller, but as far as leadership is concerned for the Chicago Bears, I don't see it. I just see a guy that's a good play caller that, obviously took advantage of a great situation of having, some amazing players, around Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. When you go to the Bears, yeah, there's some weapons there, but I just don't think that, to me, he's more of one of those guys that can call plays, but I just don't know if he's going to have the leadership. And I know Pete, whether he calls plays or hands that duty off to someone else, being kind of more of a defensive mind, we'll see how that all plays out. But as far as leadership, doing something that he cares about, I think this is going to be pretty cool to see Pete Carroll, coaching. Now, is it going to be a 100% guaranteed turnaround with Pete Carroll? Absolutely not. We don't really know. But again, I like the fit. With this particular team, it's a better job than the Chicago job or the Jacksonville job, where my Liam Cohen, my offensive coordinator, gave a verbal that he was going to stay and be the highest paid OC in football. But we all kind of knew that he was going to more than likely jump ship and try to go somewhere where he could be a head coach. He's been in 5 different locations, even though Kentucky twice, and he's just been kind of going from one team to another. So now he's the Jacksonville Jaguar, head coach, but I don't think that necessarily he's going to pan out either. And remember, Slowick was another guy where we were talking about Johnson and Slowick, last year. Ooh, these guys could be good head coaches, in the last couple of years, right? Slowick got fired today by the Texans and didn't really put up the numbers. So just because you're a good coordinator, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good head coach. Now, for Liam Cohen leaving my Bucs, I just want some stability. Baker Mayfield has had 8 different OCs in 8 years. I mean, it's hard to be able to succeed like that, right? But if Slowick would entertain a Buccaneer interview, would I consider him? Absolutely, based on what's left out on the market. But just with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, whether we have Chris Godwin or not, and obviously bringing in guys from the Ducks and the Huskies, I feel pretty comfortable with the roster that we have. With McMillan and Irving, that we could pretty much put anybody at OC that's capable, and we're going to be able to be a top 10 offense, hopefully top 5 like we were this year, but you got to give Liam Cohen some credit, but that's going to be for later on in the show. But again, let's go into the comments here and go over Megan and reflect support to the channel. I missed you guys. I got smacked down on with Cody Rhodes, Blazers, Hornets. It's halftime, and I'm very excited about the move. And again, it's going to take some time, for a lot of these coaches, and they won't necessarily make it, to the point where, oh my gosh, they did such a good job. They didn't get fired. They have a great relationship with the owner, and then they get that second, a deal, based on an extension for another 3 or 4 years. And we know Pete is up there in age, but again, age is only a number. And I feel with Pete Carroll, if a guy is in his early 70s and he still has the passion for it, again, let him coach, manufacture his roster, and let's see what he can do. But I really think, number one, him being able, to get a franchise quarterback sooner than later is going to protect his job long term. Because again, if they bring in a Jameis Winston, a Russell Wilson, a Kirk Cousins, you're just asking him to get fired unless they end up getting, that quarterback of the future in 2026, which it definitely looks a little bit better, but you never really know, if they're going to pick the right one and what their record is going to be, after this first year with Pete Carroll. But I'm definitely happy for Pete, just like you. And it's pretty cool. Much better job than Chicago. And I'm happy that he can at least bring some joy, with this Raider fan base. STL in the building, what's good? Cole in the building, what's good? And another thing, before I get into the donos, just really quick, the thing that I have been really looking forward to as well is this. The actual rivalry from USC and Stanford, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, and now having these coaches in the AFC West, right, joining up with Andy Reid and Sean Payton. This is the best division of coaches winning championships in the NFL. All four have won a championship at some level. Now, Harbaugh is still trying to figure it out on the NFL level with, the Chargers and Herbert, but won a natty with Michigan, obviously, the year before. We know Pete Carroll has had success at USC as well as Seattle, winning Super Bowls there, right? And then obviously Andy Reid is Andy Reid, and Sean Payton having success on the New Orleans Saints. So definitely excited for this rivalry to get, back into the forefront where we can actually see this again. Pretty freaking cool. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Megan with a tenner. Yes, I'm happy that he didn't go to the Bears. I don't think it would have been a good fit for them there either. And again, even though a lot of people would have said, both of these franchises are dumpster fires, me personally, and I think fans in general, even though we know ownership isn't the greatest for either team, Bears or Raiders, this is more of a coveted job than Chicago. Again, you're going to be going against Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit. Yes, we know the Raiders are going to go against the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs. Both jobs are going to be tough where you're going to be at the bottom looking up at three teams that are better than you. But Brock Bowers is already there. And so, they need a hell of a lot on defense, and they need a hell of a lot, in the skill position players. But again, if they can end up getting like a Cam Ward, that might be able to keep Pete's job after 3 to 4 years, and he could maybe get an extension if Cam Ward pans out to be like the next big quarterback in this particular draft class, because we don't really have too many that we trust. So called it. Knew it wasn't going to the Bears. Damn happy. Got the Pete throwback on and celebrate. Go way to wake up on a Saturday morning of a 3-day weekend. I hear that. I missed you guys as well. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks, little cactus jack, bang, bang. And again, I don't think that Ben Johnson is going to pan out there in Chicago. If I had to take a guess, he'll get fired before Pete Carroll. But it all really depends on wins, losses, an improvement year in and year out. But I have more faith in OG Pete Carroll on the Raiders based on his attitude, as long as he can have a good staff around him and he's not doing too much. Whether that means just being the head coach and not calling plays, but just making sure he's not taking on too much for this team to be successful, but getting a good quarterback to pair up, with Brock Bowers. That could be the difference between getting a team to, 7-10, or a team that finally in year number 3, year number 4 gets to 10-7, and then he goes to a wild card game and keeps his job, and then makes the Raiders like somewhat, decent, where they're not like a laughing stock like the Bears, where they're like, okay, they finally made the playoffs. They're getting better. And I think that's what all fans want. They just want to see their team get better. And again, it's been a minute since the Bears and the Raiders have been good. Believe that. Oh, I hope you feel a little bit better. Flus are no fun. That is facts. Hope you feel better, my guy. Yeah, I mean, again, there's going to be a lot of names, the Sam Darnold connection, the Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, I mean, Kirk Cousins, like pretty much throwing out any, name out there. But the thing is like, do you really want Sam Darnold? Like, he had a good regular season, but you see the good Sam and the bad Sam, and that team had a hell of a lot more of a supporting cast than what the Raiders have. So I don't think I would be in on Sam Darnold, even though they might have had some kind of prior connection, USC. I get that, but I just think you got to look at what Sam Darnold had to work with Jetta and Addison and Hawkinson. Obviously, offensive line was kind of hit or miss. Defense was top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top 5 all year. They don't have that. So I don't, if I was the Raiders, that might be like one of the better names that would be available in free agency. But again, if you have a Sam Darnold, is that really going to get the fan base excited? Or would you rather try to trade up a couple spots, get Cam Ward, not Shedeur Sanders, because I think he's too much of an ego guy and a me guy like his dad, like Dion. I want team players, not me players. But again, if they can't trade up to get, obviously a Cam Ward, or if they have a, future plan at quarterback in the draft the following year and they decide to go for like a Sam, I mean, that might be able to get you, 5 to 8 wins. But I don't think anyone's going to think that Sam Darnold, even if it's pairing up with the USC connection, that's going to be enough for them to get to 10 wins. I don't think so, and I don't think anyone does either. And I don't really think that the fan base would be that excited. If you're going to struggle and you're going to lose a little bit, you want to be able to have a guy that you can believe in. And I think with Sam Darnold, it was a kind of a good comeback player type of story. But again, playing good in the regular season when you got a great supporting cast, and then kind of playing terrible in the playoffs, that's going to be something that's going to, be kind of haunting him, seeing ghosts like he was when he was on the Jets. So if he's going to be going to a team like the Raiders that has much less, doesn't have a defense, offensive line is, sometimes decent, sometimes a struggle. They don't really got running backs. They don't really got wide receivers. They have Brock Bowers. That might be better than going for an aging Kirk Cousins or a Jameis Winston or a Russell Wilson. Yeah, Sam Darnold would be better than those guys, but I think the Raiders deserve better. If you're going to bring in Pete Carroll, let's try to get a quarterback like when he ended up drafting Russell Wilson early on. That was kind of the missing piece that the Seahawks, you guys needed to get you guys over the hump. Now, we obviously know the Raiders are not in the same, category there, but I think the fans deserve a little bit better. But again, a lot of rumors are going to be definitely coming out, and that might be the best option. That's not, like Cam Ward, possibly, but we'll see what the, Raiders do when that time comes. Reflect with the tenor. Appreciate you. Stacks on stacks. Racks on racks. Little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. Let me know what you guys want to do for photos, and we can do that at any given time. And then obviously we'll go over NFC and AFC championship game. I got the Blazer game on. It's halftime right now, as well as WWE SmackDown. So we're going to be following SmackDown, the Blazer game, and then obviously talking about everything, baseball, basketball, football, hockey related. Oh, and congratulations, Ichiro, for hitting the Hall of Fame. Of course, you have that one idiot just like that didn't vote for Derek Jeter, for whatever reason, to make it unanimous. Mariano Rivera ended up getting in unanimous, but then I heard some troubling news about him a couple days ago with some abuse. Not good. But Jeter missed it by 1 vote. Ichiro missed it by 1 vote. And Ken Griffey Jr. missed it by 3 votes. You definitely know that there's haters that are out there. But again, if anyone should have went in unanimous, besides Ken Griffey Jr., Derek Jeter, Ichiro should have been unanimous as well. But shout out to Ichiro and all the Mariner fans. That was pretty cool. So I saw Gino tweeting a picture of Pete and him. Yeah, and that is something that, would be better than Sam Darnold, in my opinion. I think Gino to the Raiders with Pete, depending on, their relationship, I think that connection would be better because I think right now, and obviously if you don't have a good offensive line, Raiders in Seattle, they have problems there. You can't expect, Geno to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, even though he's got the ability to put up top 5, top 10 stats with yards and touchdowns. It's just that, when he does good, people overlook it. And when he does bad, they just want to point the finger at the coach and him, where it should be pointed at the offensive line. But that obviously is something that we discuss on the regular. Casuals are going to blame the coaches and Geno. But the real OGs that know football, men and women, we know it's the offensive line's fault. And if they can't block, Geno can only do so much. And he actually did better than most people thought. If you actually are a football head and you actually watch the film, he did better with barely anything to work with up front, and they did their best with what they had with the running backs, wide receivers. You guys still need your franchise tight end as well. Hopefully you guys will get your Brock Bowers in the future at some point. But you improve the offensive line. You're going to see how much more of an improvement the team overall. And that would be interesting. I would still want Cam Ward if I could trade up. But again, then after that, maybe Geno, then Sam Darnold. And then if there's anyone else you wanted to entertain for like a year before you get your quarterback of the future next year's draft. But I definitely wouldn't go Shedeur Sanders or anybody else, not Dylan Gabriel, none of those guys. Again, it's got to be, Cam Ward or, like a Geno or Sam, and then use that for 1 year and then bring in some competition in the draft a quarterback the following year, and then maybe see where it goes. But who knows what idea that they have, based off trades and whatnot. 54-52, Hornets up on the Blazers. Smack down. Pretty deadly in the ring. Yeah. It's going to be cool. And it's like, how often do we see rivalries, right, start off at like the college level, where they're both uber successful, like literally the only two guys that have had success in the NFL and college, and they were in the Pac-10, obviously Pac-12 together, right? USC and Stanford, and then being able to go to the Niners and the Hawks, and now you're in the same division again with the Raiders and the Chargers. It's like, it's like meant to be. And I think this is really good for football. And again, the rivalry will always run deep. And again, they both respect the hell out of each other, but it's going to give us another reason to kind of tune in to the Raiders and Chargers. Maybe normally if you're an NFC fan, you don't really care that much, but now you're like, ooh, this is a little spicy, and the rivalry, and they're going to bring up the stats. They're going to bring on the head-to-head record when they played coached at USC and Stanford on the Seahawks and the Niners. And now obviously moving forward with the Chargers and the Raiders. Pretty cool. You don't really see anything like this happen that often, but I'm very excited to see where that goes. Big facts. All right, Pete. I think the majority of Raider fans in Allegiant Stadium, they got to be pretty happy. Again, I know some of them are like, oh, we wanted Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson wouldn't have worked, on this particular team. Any kind of coordinator wouldn't have been the right one. So, shout out to Tom Brady and the ownership group on picking the right individual for now. We don't really know how this is going to look, 3-4 years down the road. But for the initial hire, I like this one a hell of a lot more than Ben Johnson. And again, Ben Johnson might be able to call plays, but I just don't know if he's got the leadership skills to head coach. Most OCs and DCs don't. Pete is a special individual. And again, evaluating talent and drafting, he might not be very good in that department all the time, but as far as being a leader, a coach, someone that cares about his players, that will get the most out of his players in this kind of organization that has needed some type of leadership. Now, obviously, in Seattle, the time has run its course. So you already knew it was time for a change for McDonald, and that was good, right? But for this particular team, they haven't had success since when? Since when I played them in the Super Bowl in 2002. So it's been a long time since the Raiders have been good. So it's definitely going to be, I think, a good thing, at least short term. And then hopefully at some point they can get to 10-7, year 3 or maybe year 4. And then, if they do decide to let him go, or if he retires based off his age. I believe he's like, 73? So, I mean, if you go into your 77, is it really realistic that he'd be still coaching at 80? I mean, for him, he might be 73, but he acts like he's 43, based off his just attitude and his energy. So again, when you end up having an age that's up there, you're only as old as how you feel and how you act. So I don't think that would be that surprising to me. If he wanted to coach until he was 80 years old and the Raiders were going to allow him to do that and the team got better and better, that would be pretty cool. As long as he wanted to. And hopefully this will give some relevance to the Raiders. Sarah in the building, what's good? We're at 20, 80 to go. Oh, no worries. Eddie in the building, what's good? Yeah, that's true, right? But you got to make sure, it shows you how important the ownership is. Probably don't have the right owner. GM, head coach, OC, DC. When those things are great, then the players, it doesn't matter who you have. It'll work out. But again, if you have, shaky picks at quarterback, with AR and obviously offensive line problems, defensive problems, Pat McAfee problems, like I said, it shows you it's not going to be something that can be solved right away. One day I do believe that the Colts, will be, a team that could be a wild card team, especially in the AFC South, NFC South. Our divisions really aren't the greatest. We have some teams that are decent and other teams that are kind of rebuilding, so it's not like, people are saying, oh, wow, look at the AFC South. They're like the best division in football. It's more likely, NFC South and AFC South. Sometimes we're the worst divisions, in the NFL, or we're kind of towards the bottom where we might have a good team, but maybe 2 or 3 that aren't so good. So hopefully that'll work out. But, I think the AR draft pick was a mistake. And now you guys hopefully will learn your lesson that you can't pick a player that just does good in combine drills, that has limited experience. You need to go for a guy, that has got 4, 5, 6 years in college, where it's going to be someone that's going to be suited for this. But also, too, in my opinion, based on your guys' owner, the guy has had substance abuse problems with drinking and drugs. And I feel that with a guy like that, with the unlimited money supply, it's just not the right owner. It's not Jerry Jones, but I think that owner is holding you guys back. Same thing with the Carolina Panthers. If you got a shitty owner that will throw beer on fans, when the fans are chirping at them, and you do questionable things, in the off season and in the regular season, that's going to trickle down not only to the GM, but the head coach and then the coordinators and then the fan base. And again, I know some people might like those owners and whatnot. They might like Jerry Jones. You might end up liking what you got there with the Indianapolis Colts and the Carolina Panthers. But I honestly feel if those two organizations, not, excluding the Cowboys as well, but if the Panthers and Colts had better owners, they would be much, much better than where they're at right now, because I think that's a big part of the mistakes that have been made, because the decision making isn't good at the top. If you got to worry about a guy that's drunk or, not sober and, not really making clear-headed decisions, and that trickles down to the rest of the team. So, I don't know if people want to, really admit that that is an issue, but to me it is. I mean, I follow every single team as if it were my own, and I feel that those two teams, if they could somehow, some way get rid of their owner like the Cowboys, forced to sell, some kind of misconduct or whatever, just like they pushed Daniel Snyder out. Look what happened. They got rid of Daniel Snyder. They got Dan Quinn. They got Jaden Daniels. The team sucked ass for 30 years, and then all of a sudden, they've had the best record, right, since I went to the Super Bowl in 1991 with Mark Rippon, and they're 1 game away in year 1 with Jaden Daniels and making the Super Bowl. Will they get there? Probably not. But again, just to get to the NFC Championship game in your quarterback's rookie year is unfucking heard of. So it shows you, you can be down in the dumps. This team sucks. This team sucks. This team sucks. But until things get solved at the top, just like at a good job, if you got a shitty owner and a shitty GM and shitty managers, you can't expect the players to give you everything that, they got. They're not going to run through a wall for you if they feel that you're fucking them over and lying to them and not being truthful. So I feel that just like every NFL team and MLB, NBA, NHL, it really starts at the top. And for me, I would rather have top guys at the top average QB, average running backs, average wide receivers, average tight end, good offensive line, good defense. And then again, if you have all those great pieces of management in place, those players that are average at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end will end up being good because the offensive line is good, the defense is good, and the coaching and the learning and being able to adapt will be better. So it shows you don't necessarily need, elite quarterback, elite running back, elite wide receiver, elite tight end. If you don't got an offensive line, you're not fucking going anywhere. And if your defense isn't good, the offense is going to crap out with 3 and outs and have turnovers. So like I said, it's a very complicated, type of scheme, but it's also very, very easy. You have to be able to get people that know film, that know football, but you also have to get real good human beings. And if you can get good, smart human beings all in the same, category right at the top, and it trickles down, that's going to make the team overall better. You don't want to have an owner that you're shameful of, that, oh God, when's the next time he's going to be in the news for something stupid that he did? Jerry Jones trying to be the face of the team. You see with the Colts and the Panthers, it's like most of the time when you hear something from the owner, it's negative. It's not positive. And I really do feel once that changes, if it ever does, that's when you guys will be better. And that's kind of a harsh reality to say, but I know you guys, I'm always going to say things that people are thinking, but they're just afraid to say it. But again, I'm not biased. I treat every single situation if that's my team, and again, what would I do if the Colts were my team, the Panthers were my team? And it's very clear, Cowboys, Colts, and Panthers, they might have I don't want to say the 3 worst owners in the NFL, because there's probably quite a few others that are, deserving to be at that list that need to get the hell out of there. But I just feel that there's some positive things, that the owners have done for the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Colts, but there's just too much negative. And I feel culture is everything. You have to build a culture. Ben Johnson's going to the Bears, but is that going to turn around the culture? I don't think so. Harbaugh changed the culture in the Chargers. Sean Payton changed the culture for the Broncos. Can Pete Carroll change the culture for the Raiders? We'll have to wait and see. Yeah. And, obviously they've been talking about, and they're going to swirl rumors, Chargers, Raiders, anyone that needs a wide receiver, DK. If they decide to move on, you got JSN. He can be your number 1. Lockett's getting a little bit older. You're going to have to try to find another Emeka Egbuka. You can draft a player like that. But honestly, offensive line. That's more important. And then you can get a free agent wide receiver, late round wide receiver if needed. But yeah, you never know where that might go. But again, if they do decide to move on, that could actually be a good move, for McDonald and the Hawks, even though I know a lot of people love Geno and they love DK. But again, getting a better offensive line, is going to be much more beneficial, not only short term, but long term. And then you'll be able to find another player that will put up numbers like a Geno, like a DK, but it probably will be spread out instead of just having to pay 2 players. You might be able to get 5 players, for that type of money. And then if you use, that money to be able to draft correctly, which, Pete Carroll had some issues doing. Obviously, they're in Seattle, great leader, but player evaluator, not the best. Bill Belichick wasn't the best either. Some guys are just coaches, not necessarily evaluators of talent. But that would be interesting, if they ended up going that route. And that would tremendously help out the Raiders. Then you would have, imagine Geno, DK, Brock Bowers. Now, that wouldn't be the team that I would necessarily want long term. I still would want to get my quarterback like Cam Ward if I could, but if I couldn't and I had to settle for a Geno or a Sam Darnold for a year, waited till the quarterback class of next year, which looks very, very good, much better than this year, where you got Shedeur Sanders. I don't trust him, but I do believe that he'll be decent. And then obviously Cam Ward is really the only quarterback that I would be picking in this draft class. Even with a guy like Dylan Gabriel, that's a project QB, a backup, second string, third string, but I don't really see Dylan Gabriel, being on the Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. level. I just don't see it. Again, I think Dante Moore is going to be better than Dylan Gabriel, and that's our quarterback for next year. Even though we kind of were, having some questions if he was going to be able to pan out or not. So. Yeah, it sounds like he is going back to Detroit from what I heard. And you got to think Detroit lost, not only their offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson, but they also lost their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, to the Jets. So again, Detroit's got all these pieces, but they lost their OC and their DC. And typically, if you end up losing your OC and your DC and then your linebacking coach and your offensive line coach, yeah, the Lions are still going to be good, but they're definitely going to probably go down a couple notches unless they can swoop in and then hire Slowick, and have him come right in to fill the gaps for Ben Johnson. I know the Buccaneers and the Lions and a few other teams are going to be looking at different, pieces and whatnot, but it sounds like he is going back to where he is familiar. Well, let's be real. Just in case, be honest with yourself. That's not panning out. Again, athletic, but can't throw. Can make a 70-yard throw slipping right on the dime, the downs, but then it's a 5-yard out and he misses it by 10 yards. There's certain things about him where it makes you say, wow, but he doesn't have the consistency. I don't think he has the mental toughness, and I don't think he's smart enough, just to be honest. I think that there's some guys that are dedicated to the game. Jaden Daniels doing the VR, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. You look at certain guys that are a little bit more committed to the game, and then you see other guys that maybe want to go out and party. They want to hang out with girls. They want to do other things. That football isn't their full life. And I feel with like AR, there's some good qualities about him, but he's injury prone. And I feel he's more of a liability than an asset. So again, it's not fully over yet, but he's about a season away from being a backup quarterback for the rest of his life and then not being in the NFL at all. Like the window is closing, and again, it's like you got some pieces, Jonathan Taylor, you got Downs, Michael Pittman Jr. You got some pieces to be able to work with, but again, it all starts at the top with the ownership, the GM, the head coaches, the coordinators. It's all wrong, and then you end up getting the wrong quarterback. So you can blame AR, but you can blame the people at the top. You need to be able to get someone better, and again, you need to go back to the roots, the Andrew Luck, the Peyton Manning, that type of quarterback. You definitely, are going to want a running quarterback. And I know that they thought, Richardson, dual quarterback. He can run, he can throw, he can be the next Cam Newton. But the problem is he's not Cam Newton. He's not as accurate as Cam. And even Cam wasn't really that accurate compared to the other guys, but he gave you that toughness where you could get him down on the goal line. He'll be dabbing on guys, being able to get in the end zone. Okay. And I just think Anthony Richardson's, body, mentally, physically weak. I just don't think that is the right guy for that team. You guys need something better. You deserve something better. So, again, and there's going to be plenty of quarterbacks, not in this draft class, but in the next one, so that if they do go for a Jackson Dart or someone else, that might be a better fit. But that might not pan out either if you don't fix the pieces at the top by not getting better GMs, better coaches, better evaluators, better offensive line, and better defense. So, the Colts aren't terrible. They're kind of like a 500 team, like the Cowboys, where, you're sometimes you're going to get 10-7. Other times you're going to be 7-10. No one assumes the Colts are going to be as bad as like a 4-win team and be 4-13, but it could get to that point, if you don't fix shit, and we'll see where it goes. But, AR is already kind of out the door. He had Flacco, and that, he's old, but that's not a long-term answer. These are short-term answers. But the bottom line, that was a mistake pick. And sometimes that shit happens. Again, you have to be able to have the proper evaluators. Look at Sean McVay. Reflect will tell you a story too. Sean McVay and the Rams have hit on, positions everywhere. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, right? With Jared Verse, Puka Nacua. Verse was pretty popular. So everyone knew him at Florida State. Everyone knew whoever picked him was going to be a good player, but he got the most out of Verse, where he's a dominant player, Pro Bowl player, all-pro player, and might be in the Hall of Fame one day, right? But the reason is based on Reflect and his son and a few other people and looking stuff up, that they end up scouting players and it's anonymous, right? And they end up, giving it to Sean McVay, and they don't know where it came from. So they're giving their, no bias approach, and they're like each scout, they're not, saying who it's from, but they give the picks on who they would pick, based on, that's exactly what you need. Smart individuals right? With no bias, just telling you these are the guys that are going to work great for your system and your plays. And again, how many teams have the luxury of having someone that intelligent and then to build a staff that's that intelligent? I mean, we're talking about maybe one staff out of 3 in the entire NFL. Obviously the Eagles don't really miss, the Chiefs don't miss, the Rams don't miss, and the Lions don't miss. Why is that? The Bucks don't miss. Why is that? Why do those teams never miss? Or if they do, it's barely. It's because of the people that we have at the top. Facts. Yeah, I mean, AR could work with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Tom Brady. It ain't going to work out. I mean, you're only going to get so far with him. And then if he ends up proving that he can stay consistent, what's going to happen? He's going to get hurt. He just doesn't. It's like a Greg Oden. You got all the talent in the world, but if you're injury prone and your body can't hold up, you're not a good decision maker, you're mentally weak, Again, the NFL is for grown men, not for boys, and again, he doesn't have enough experience under his belt, and it's okay to admit that, hey, you got the wrong one. It's very hard to be able to draft the correct quarterback, at the right time, that has the right supporting cast and the right mentors to make sure that guy pans out, again, because anytime if you're questioning it, then it's a failure. It's not, you know what I mean? Andrew Luck, no one could talk shit. Everyone knew how amazing he was from Stanford. Okay, the offensive line, you guys didn't do him any favors there, right? But we knew Andrew Luck was it. Peyton Manning was it, right? There's no debating. Even if they start slow in a year or two, you knew that they had the tools. I don't really feel that AR has the same tools as the guys that they had previously that took them, where they need to go. Facts. Yes. Kevin Owens on the mic there on SmackDown. 69-65 Hornets. Yeah, they still got a very tough sled to work with, just like the Hawks. Hawks might be ranked 31st, but 26, that's not too far back. So, we'll see where that goes. Again, that's why for Pete, he's going to need to be able to establish a good staff. And again, no one expects him to, get to 10 wins year one. Like, it's like you're going to try to shoot for maybe 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, like a realistic approach. And then, after you go to 8, 9, 10, and then, try to shoot for 11 if he's still there, 3 years, 4th year option, but he may not make it that far. But again, I do like the hire better than a lot of these coordinator hires. I think a lot of these coordinator hires are kind of flash in the pan. And just like Slowick was the hot thing, of the month a couple years back, just like Ben Johnson, Slowick just got fired. So again, they might think, oh, this is going to be great, CJ Stroud. And then you look at the numbers, and if the numbers are ranked, 17th through 24 in the rankings, you're not going to keep a guy. And that's the reason why Slowick was fired, with CJ and Mixon. And yes, they had injuries, the Diggs and obviously Tank Dell, and, they weren't really fully healthy. But again, you can think so much about a guy and then, oh, this guy's going to be great. And then can't even stay on the team that he was on as an OC. Not to say that I wouldn't consider him in Tampa. Since I lost Liam Cohen, I would love to be able to have a guy like that. That would be a good option for most. But, as far as, promoting a guy from DC OC to head coach, and having them call plays and be like the father figure leader, some guys are great at calling plays, and that's it. They're not going to be good leaders, because leadership, is something that you're born with. It's not something that you acquire. It's not like, it's all of a sudden you take a class and you're like, I'm the best leader, that this team has ever seen. It just doesn't work like that. You either internally have it. Now you can learn techniques on how to be a more genuine, real person and, show leadership. But I really, truly believe true leaders in this world were kind of born with it. They have that something different about them that makes you want to listen and follow them. And, some people are great with words, but a lot of times it's just people that are genuine. They know how to speak. They know how to act. They carry themselves a certain way. And then people want to, follow this type of person. And I'm definitely excited to see what Pete can do moving forward with the Raiders. And hopefully he can make it to that 4th year. Yeah. And what about Brennan? Brennan going to follow his dad? and go with Pete. We'll see where that goes. Because anytime you end up having sons, Belichick, Carroll, and they're, trying to be like their dads, at some point or another, when a job opens up in college or the NFL, depending on if they have a contract where they're at, if they can get out of it, a lot of times they want to follow dad, right? They want to be able to follow suit. So we'll see where that goes. He's been in 5 places in 5 years in college and obviously in the NFL. So it's a stepping stone to be able to get to be a head coach. But the harsh reality is that people sometimes don't realize, like even like a Chip Kelly, you can end up being a head coach, you can be a coordinator, but sometimes the NFL isn't a good fit. Sometimes college is not a good fit. You have to be able to find what works for you. But, verbally, talking about it, nothing was signed, but they were planning on trying to make him the highest paid OC in NFL history. But he would rather, be a head coach. But the thing is, he'll end up getting that job. He did, Jacksonville. He'll get fired in a year or two. He'll have that in his resume, and then hopefully he'll get another shot as a head coach. But then we'll probably have to be a coordinator again, and then before he gets another head coaching job. So, everyone, for most coaches, you go from coordinator, head coach in college, coordinator, head coach in the NFL. So, he hasn't really shown loyalty. Baker has had 8 OCs in 8 years. I just want stability for him. But I feel with the offensive line, with Licht, our GM, who's fantastic, and our ownership is fantastic. That's very rare to say that you actually love the owner, love the GM. I'm not really huge on Bowles. Like for me, Bowles is more of a defensive coordinator. I would rather have someone better. Like if we could ever get like Tomlin and Bowles together, like if the Steelers were like, we're done with you, Mike. You haven't been able to win us a Super Bowl lately, but you don't really have losing seasons, but we're going to move on. And, we already know the Steelers have had like 3 head coaches in 50 years, so they don't really like to move on. But Tomlin has been a coach in the Buccaneers system. If you go back into the Gruden era and you go back, there's a lot of people that have ties to Tampa. So I don't really know where we're going to go, but I do believe that, we've had Byron Leftwich. You can pretty much plug and play. If we have the quarterback, the running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive line, it's just a matter of how intelligent is the person. And, if you implement them into the Bucs offense, we can be top 10. But if you're really, really good, like Liam Cohen is, play calling wise, maybe not head coach wise, you can be top 4, top 5. And that's what he was able to do, even with Chris Godwin being out for the year and not having Mike Evans for a month. You saw Jalen McMillan prove that if we move on from Chris Godwin, I hope we don't, that he could be our number 2 with Mike Evans, 100%. And I didn't know if I was going to say that after year 1. I thought maybe year 2, year 3, yeah, he might be our new Chris Godwin. But he proved after Godwin got hurt, McMillan, is better than Rome. And he's the best one, out of that group besides Michael Penix Jr. He's a guy that can get you 10 tutties in a full season, even being a 2 or a 3. That's impressive. Bucky Irving, same thing. I thought that he would be good. I didn't really know how many carries they were going to give him, but I figured by year 2, he would prove that, hey, year 3 or year 2, I'm the guy. I'm better than Rachaad White. I should be starting. And based on what we've seen in the rookie years of both guys exceeded expectations, great players, and again, great athletes, very selfless. And I'm really happy that I'm able to watch my favorite NFL team with some Huskies and Ducks on it. So this kind of sucked, because the day before they're like, oh, verbal. We're going to make him the highest OC. Cool. Great rapport with Baker and Mike. But again, if he wants to go to Jacksonville, try out being a head coach, realize that he's not cut out to do it, gets fired in like a year or two, but he has it on his resume, then he'll go back being an OC. It just won't be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anymore, especially the way that he did that. Some people said it was kind of snaky, saying, hey, I'm going to do it, and then not answering the phone. And then, they already knew that he was taking the job with Jacksonville, but they had to get rid of the GM. So Shad Khan had to fire Balky, right, to get him out of there. And then everyone wanted to be in Jacksonville. But if the GM was still there, that's why Ben Johnson and a lot of these other guys didn't want that job, because they didn't want to have to answer to that GM because people don't like that guy. So then Khan was like, all right, I own the Jags. I own AEW. Fuck this guy. Balky, you're out of there, motherfucker. right? And then boom, that was the one thing, that Liam Cohen needed. I get to choose the GM, or I'm in the process with the owner to help choose. And then that makes the deal a little bit more lucrative. So it stinks losing him. But again, I have different OCs almost every year. And again, even though my team was a pretender, but I can win the NFC South. I can win 10 to 12 games, but we're just probably not good enough to win multiple games yet. But I do believe in the team. I like them. And I'm not really worried about who we get at OC. We have such an amazing coaching staff right now that we'll be able to get Slowick from the Texans, who just got fired, or someone else that will be able to step in and do a good job. So kind of hard to fuck up Baker, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin if he comes back, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, and we got a great offensive line with Graham Barton and Tristan Wirfs. It's a great situation. Like, a lot of people would love to be the head coach of Tampa or the OC working with that. Like, people thought, it's only going to be with Brady, right? And Gronk and Evans and AB and Godwin. But now you've seen with this Baker Mayfield-led offense, it might not be the same thing as Tom Brady, but we're a playoff team. We're good. We're relevant. It's just, how far can we go? Anthony in the building. Raiders. What's good, my guy? And, I always shoot a straight shooter, right? I never bullshit, right? I always give it, straight out. This is what it is. And again, this is a good hire for now, right? This is a good hire for now. We don't know if he'll make it, Anthony, until year 3 or year 4, but it's a better hire than Ben Johnson. It's a better hire than any of the coordinators. Tom Brady put in some, good words, and obviously being a part owner of the Raiders helped bring in this guy. And, I hope it works out. It's not going to be the guy that leads you to the AFC Championship game, but in 3 or 4 years, it could be the guy that finally turns the team around since John Gruden and gets you to 10-7. And I know that might be, kind of a harsh reality for some Raider fans, but most diehard Raider fans like Anthony and others, they realize they haven't been good since 2002 when they played the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl when they had Rich Gannon. It's been a fucking long time. So again, to bring in a guy that has a good reputation, hopefully brings the right coordinators and team around him, better players and player coaches and people that can evaluate talent, and then hopefully they can draft well, they can bring in good free agents, and then when he leaves or when they let him go, the team is in a better spot than what it is today. But I do like the hire. Especially, I could have made a AFC, NFC graphic with, Jaden Daniels, as well as Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen and Mahomes, but I decided to leave it like this because I thought that we should give him some respect. And, it's not often that we can give a single guy on the thumb, even when we have AFC, NFC predictions and preview we're doing on this episode as well. I like it, man. Yeah, I mean, like I told you, I think Teppers and Irsay and Jones, they're not good. They're not good people. I just don't think that they're the right, rich people to be running your guys' organizations, But you have to wait until things change before, other things go. So, I wouldn't have anyone in the family taking over. You might have daughters. That's like saying Jerry Jones's sons are going to be different. They're not. They're going to do the same thing and be in the same direction of their dads. Again, you have to not have anyone in that family involved. You just got to have someone not, a part of the family, to me, so. And I don't think you guys are that far away from being a good team, but again, it's like you guys don't have it's like a dysfunctional family. Have you noticed that? It's kind of a dysfunctional family where sometimes things are good, but there's a lot of fighting and a lot of drama, and it's not good to have drama, when the team is like 500. Once in a while, 10-7, but like 9-8, 8-9, 7-10. And have you noticed, like, if you look, like the Cowboys are kind of your guys' equivalent. Like, it's like the problems at the top are holding the team back. And that's 100% true. Same thing with the Panthers. I think like Teppers, they're already at the bottom, but Jacksonville was at the bottom. They had Dougie P and they kind of climbed out of the bottom, but you still kind of feel like Trevor Lawrence didn't really fully pan out to that number 1 pick status either. So it's not just like AR failed. A lot of these quarterbacks, haven't really panned out. The Zach Wilsons, right? the Trey Lances, going through all of those guys. Not all of them have really panned out. It's hard to make it at QB, but again, I wouldn't have anybody in the Jones family, anyone in the Irsay, or anyone in the Tepper family take over if possible. It's got to be a clean slate like Washington did. Dan Snyder fucked that team over for years and years and years. Get rid of his ass, all that sexual misconduct and that bullshit. Boom, you bring in Dan Quinn, or bring a new ownership group. Boom, Jaden Daniels, and then the first time in year number 1. So it shows you it can be done, but you have to make drastic changes, which the Panthers, the Cowboys, and the Colts will not make, because those owners are too stubborn, and even if they pass away, their family will inherit and they will not sell. So I don't know what to tell you, but it is what it is, until something changes. Potential, we need to see more. Obviously, if you go back and look at the tape when he actually faced Jaden Daniels in college, he actually played better, but we got to see the development. And again, you can have the right quarterback, but if you don't have the right owner, the right GM, the right head coach, the right coordinator, and the right offensive line, the right skill position, players, the right people to motivate and keep that person in line, even a guy that has talent like Jackson Dart could fail in Indianapolis. Cole with $1. Appreciate you. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks. Little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. Appreciate you. 75-75 Blazers and Hornets. Got SmackDown on as well. You got to be able to have good people, good evaluators. That's what it's about. Shedeur Sanders, he's like his dad. He's flashy, doing a bunch of this, showing off the watch. Give me someone like Cam Ward, that had to grind it out at Washington State, that went to the U and made Crystal Ball not fucking lose his job after being an idiot on some of the play calls that he's had after, taking that job, leaving Oregon, having a chance to kneel it, and then you hand the ball off, you fumble, they get the ball, they score on the next play. You don't want to be that guy, Man, we could only wish, for our teams to be able to, get the right people to be able to manage and to let go of some power, Yes, I do. I got predictions for Sunday. Right. And we've seen a couple teams, if Carr didn't get hurt, MVP talks, Carson Wentz didn't get hurt, MVP talks, and what could have been. And tragically, after that, happened, they haven't really been the same. But I mean, if we're talking about good, the Rich Gannon, Charlie Gardner, Jerry Rice, that kind of squad, with Romanowski and Charles Woodson, it's been a minute, and again, the best coach that they've had, all the coaches that the Raiders have the exact same wins that Pete Carroll has as a total, right? The best coach they've had, previously was John Gruden. Right, John Gruden is really the best coach that they've ever had after all of the John Madden and going back to that old era. But obviously, since the time that he took over, that was really the best one, and they really haven't had the right one since. So not saying that Pete's going to be the long-term answer if he's like 73. How realistic is it that he coaches until he's 80? I don't know. But again, if they can get the right quarterback, like if you trade up a couple spots, get Cam Ward, not only is the fan base going to be excited, that could save Pete Carroll's job from being fired in year 2 or year 3 if you end up bringing over like a Sam Darnold or a Kirk Cousins or a Jameis, and then they miss on the quarterback in the draft in a year or two. At some point, they're going to get impatient, even with Pete. So, I think really nailing the quarterback within the first 2 years, that's going to be the thing that saves Pete's job in year 3 and year 4, or puts him in jeopardy of getting fired in year 3 or year 4. But again, it's a better job than the Bears, and I like Pete, being there, and hopefully by the time that he ends up getting kicked out or he retires on his own terms, that the team is in a better place than it is today. And hopefully it will be, and I think it will be. But again, Brock Bowers, Cam Ward, tell me that doesn't sound sexy. I'm just thinking of out of anybody that I could want besides Cam Ward, it would be a draft pick in next year's draft. But you're only a couple picks. Like if you're in the top 7, like you have a chance to move up a couple. And if you can end up, someone wants to go Shedeur Sanders, fuck them, let them. Shedeur Sanders and the Raiders pass, go for offensive line. Go for the best skill position player, Abdul Carter. Get someone that's a pass rusher. Get another guy to match up with Max Crosby. Make the team better, on the O-line or the D-line. But again, if Cam Ward is there, again, that could be that piece, and they still need offensive line. Offensive line, like Reflect said, is ranked 26. Seattle's is 31st. So, again, you're going to need help. But I think that would be the most exciting pick that you could do when you're only, if you're slated to pick 6th, you have to maybe move up 2 spots, lose a 3rd rounder, maybe a 7th rounder. Boom, you get the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, maybe. I don't know. Again, they've always drafted wrong. And if you've noticed with the Raiders, unfortunate bad luck by picking guys that end up having crime, in their background or going to jail or getting cut off the team. Like look at all the picks that the Raiders have had where they might have been talented players, but you have to make sure that you're picking good people. If you're picking a guy that likes to party rather than study film, you're going to run a risk. Yeah, he's an amazing athlete, but he likes to party. That there's going to be a chance that maybe he gets a DUI, maybe he kills somebody, maybe he goes to jail, maybe he gets cut off the team, and then there's your draft pick gone. And not only that, a life is gone. You have to be very careful. And again, I don't think that the Raiders have had the Raiders. Got to do my Chris Berman. Raiders. The Raiders. They haven't had the proper evaluators. It's like you had like Mayock and you had Gruden, and Mayock used to be able to evaluate talent on NFL Network, but for whatever reason, when it was for the Raiders, they just haven't had the right people that want to look at good athletes, but you have to get good people that love football, that love each other, that love people, that love the whole grind. Practice isn't fun, but if you want to be able to turn this shit around like Washington did, you got to have the right people in the building. And, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, it gives people hope, for other teams that aren't good right now. Like, fuck. Like, look at that. Their team sucked for 30 years. They got rid of the owner, Forreston Massell, because of all the misconduct. They get Dan Quinn. And then you got to understand, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, and getting rid of Daniel Snyder, it was like the trifecta from fucking football heaven. That shit doesn't happen. That's like once in a generation, something like that happens, and it just so happens it happened to Washington. But if you got to think, if they've been shitty for like 30 years, and then they get this, they were overdue. They got blessed, and they earned it. They deserved it. No one wants to be shitty forever, right? Yeah, but again, some people, are not going to like Pete. Like Raider fans, they don't care about the Seahawks. They don't care about Pete. They look to see how he did in the latter part of his stay in Seattle, and they're going to compare, that to what he's going to maybe, bring or not bring to their favorite team. So you're always going to get haters, no matter what. But again, if you're a Raider fan through and through, and you're, been an OG, it hasn't been good in a long fucking time. You've had one good coach, and obviously we've seen interim coaches, do pretty good, like this last one. But again, interim coaches are usually just coordinators or interim coaches. They're not the guy long term. So a guy that's been successful in the NFL, a guy that's been successful in college, again, beggars can't be choosers. You're not going to just be able to get Andy Reid. It's not like all of a sudden, hey, Chiefs, we want Andy Reid. Okay, let me give him to you. You're not going to be able to get someone like that. And a lot of the coordinators are underqualified. They're coordinators, but they're not leaders as head coaches. That's why a lot of these DCs and OCs that get promoted to head coach, they get fired within a year or two because they can't handle the leadership and being the coach. That's why you see a lot of these OG grandpa guys, they can, kind of handle that. And again, Harbaugh is going to be a yeller and a disciplinarian, right? And that's always how it's been at Stanford, the Niners, the Chargers. Pete Carroll has always been a little bit more friendly, family, laid back. Will yell when he needs to, but a little bit more, easy going. Will get emotional when he needs to get emotional, but normally lets, that relationship be a little bit more, not as aggressive as some of these other coaches that like to yell and scream. Because if you yell and scream and you don't get results, you're going to lose the team anyways. It's going to go in one ear, out the other. You'll probably lose the team faster if you're a yeller and it doesn't work out. But luckily for Harbaugh, he's got good pedigree. He's been successful at Stanford, the 49ers, natty at Michigan, and he's already took the Chargers to the playoffs, even though they got their ass kicked and Herbert played bad. He got them there, like Sean Payton did. So if you have the pedigree, you might not be anyone's favorite guy, but again, one thing is for sure, Pete Carroll right now is a better option than almost all of these other coordinators that are getting head coaching jobs or coordinator jobs. Again, it's kind of a revolving door with coaches, but this is a special opportunity, and it's a better job than the fucking Chicago job. Pete Carroll could have went to Chicago, made them a little bit better, more than likely, but probably would have got fired quicker there than maybe in Las Vegas. So again, you might have some skill position players, but again, the Chicago, I feel like if you look at Chicago and Vegas and you look at like the team itself, they're nowhere near being good at this moment, right? But do they just have bad juju in Chicago? It's just like, it doesn't, like when you look at that team, going against Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, it doesn't have good aura. It doesn't have good vibe. It doesn't have good juju. Like, even if you ended up putting like a Sean Payton or a Harbaugh there, it just seems like it would be really hard, extra hard to turn that shit around because they have bad fucking culture. And you got to be able to turn bad fucking culture around. And again, to say that even like a Harbaugh or, like an Andy Reid, it would be difficult for even those guys to turn a place around like that where they have some talent, but the culture is fucking terrible there. And again, some people would say, well, the culture is fucking terrible in Vegas. And that might be true as well, but you got Brock Bowers, so at least you got one piece. And obviously you got that beautiful stadium there. The fans are hungry, whether it's Los Angeles fans or it's Vegas fans. So even though the Bears have more talent to work with, the Vegas job is a better destination. And hopefully, and they got, look at that. You got Carroll, Raiders, Sean Payton, Broncos, Andy Reid, Chiefs, Jim Harbaugh, Chargers. Name a better four, in the NFL. You can't. Every single one has won a championship somewhere. Can't say that for any other division in football. So I like it. It rejuvenates the rivalry with Harbaugh, going from USC, Stanford, right? Then do Seahawks, Niners, and now Chargers, Raiders. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Pete Carroll is going to have the same success as Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh. It's going to take him longer because the team is shittier. It doesn't have a lot of great pieces in management and ownership. So you got to really try to rebuild the culture and rebuild everything. So it's probably going to take 3-4 years. And by then he might be fired by then, but he might be able to leave the team better than where they're at now. And hopefully they can do that. I'm rooting for him. Any photos that I can end up getting for you guys, and then we'll go into AFC, NFC preview and predictions. So I plan on streaming for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. If we ended up going on a massive dono train, then maybe 3 hours. And then we'll also continue this AFC, NFC preview and predictions tomorrow. That will be the stream for tomorrow. And then obviously I'm going to make the thumbnails for both. And I am going to go AFC and NFC championship game. NFC's on at noon on Sunday. AFC's on at 3:30. I might have to cut one stream, short, like a couple minutes, and then, have to, kind of do the tags and load the new thumbnail. But I'm planning on streaming from pretty much 12 all the way till like 7 p.m. I'm going to do both games. So it's going to be a long day, but we only have 3 NFL games left. So AFC, NFC championship game, Super Bowl, Natty's already over. So we'll go that route. But let me get some photos for the people that donated first, and then we'll go into the NFC championship game first, and then the AFC championship game. We'll go over, who has an advantage at different positions, and then we'll also go over preview, and then obviously predictions based off score and who we think is going to win the game, and you'll get my picks, obviously, as well. And we got Bianca Belair and Naomi dancing to the ring. Blazers 88, Hornets 83. This Blazers team is starting to get a little bit better. If they win this game here 4 in a row, they haven't done that all season. So it's nice to be able to see, even if it's only a couple wins, like the Blazers are actually playing better. Scoot Henderson, he's not Dame Lillard, but the team is like young, second youngest team in the NBA, but they're fun to watch, even though they're the best worst team in the NBA, if that makes any sense. Out of all the teams that suck, they're the best, like the one that has like the potential to get like better down the road, the best worst team. I don't know if that's something I should be proud of, but again, just trying to get the Kraken and the Blazers not both being bottom 5 teams in the NBA and the NHL, and hopefully we can get those teams to be better because that'll be better for my mental health. But lost 3-0 to the Caps. And, it's just one of those things. It's a tough, when you're a bottom 5 team in the sport. But if you love your teams, it doesn't matter. I'm still watching Blazers. I'm still watching Kraken. So, okay. I'm going to do a little tribute to Pete for you. As far as in the conference or in the division rankings. Anything win-wise is good for us. So let's give a little love to Pete. I didn't even, have anything AFC or NFC related. I figured people can read the caption, in the video itself. 3-year deal, 4-year option. And again, no one is saying, oh, Pete's going to, lead them to the Super Bowl. Pete's going to lead them to the AFC championship game. It's just like, this is just a good hire for now. Let's see how it develops. Evaluation for players might not be his expertise, but he's a good person. He's a good motivator. He's a good coach. He'll get other people to evaluate, hopefully for him and with him to help him. And hopefully they can construct a better team. And we can get more rivalry games where we care about watching the Raiders and the Chargers. And if you're an NFC fan, you might not care about AFC fans as much. But now, with this rivalry in hand, when the Raiders and Chargers play, we may actually want to tune in a little bit more. Liv Morgan talking shit on the mic. And then we will be slowly getting into Jaden Daniels versus Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Let's go. Raiders. And I like this thumbnail here too. I wanted to give you guys something different. No words, just images. And some of the thumbs are going to look like this in the future too. Right. And again, you have to have the right scouts. You have to have the right assistants. You have to have the right people, watching film. And also knowing the type of plays, that you are trying to run. So if everyone on the staff understands that, just like with Sean McVay and how they do it, then no wonder they don't miss on draft picks because everyone is on the same page. It's not like the head coach has this idea with the GM and the OC and everyone else is out of the loop. It has to be a team effort. And, hopefully they'll be able to bring in the right type of people, if he can tap into that market. And at least they have a tight end. Yeah, he's never really had too many tight ends in his tenure, at USC, with the Seahawks, and now he's going to have the best tight end he's ever had. So imagine he's just thinking about creative ways to get him the ball. Now it's just about, can you get Cam Ward or someone, to be the guy, because I just don't think, an aging vet, now Gino would be the best option after Cam Ward and then maybe Sam Darnold for short term. But, again, Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, that's not the fucking answer. The Raider fans are not going to get excited about that. You're going to have a similar record than what you already have had with all of the coaches previously to Gruden. Like, if you want to actually get close to 9-8, 10-7, right, which isn't like crazy, 9-8, 10-7, 11-6, you have to have so many things, line up. So, but we'll see. And obviously, I'm a straight shooter. If I thought this was a terrible move and it wasn't good, yeah, I'm gonna call it how I see it. No matter what. Like if I think it's good, I'm gonna let you know it's good. The rivalry is great. And how often do you get a rivalry with 3 different teams and you're in the same division 3 different times? This is like the first time that I've ever seen something like this ever. It's so cool. And then we'll get into another thing that's cool. Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. All right, let me try to get a few more photos up here. Yeah, Jacoby Myers is nice, but he's more of like, you want him to be your wide receiver 2, or wide receiver 3 if possible to have like a good team. But, he could be a temporary 1, but you're going to need someone to do the Devontae Adams role. And then let me know what you want to do photo-wise. Anything reflect, anything Cole, and then we'll get into the NFC Championship and then the AFC. And again, we'll do another stream about it tomorrow as well, since it'll be 1 day away at that point. And then I can look at the injury report, see if there's any new information, people playing, people not playing, because things could change, based off injuries and whatnot. Watched another Law & Order SVU episode this morning. Awesome. Great to see some of the shows are back after the strike that they had. Definitely excited for the Mariners. Congratulations to Ichiro, CC Sabathia. And the rest. All my buddies are like, let's go Blazers. We're actually doing something. I can't wait for NASCAR, and I can't wait for baseball. We will do NASCAR on the channel, and I can't wait for Mariner baseball, where we can just do Mariners every single day, and I miss it. Yeah, we'll be doing Royal Rumble, next Saturday? Hell yeah. I'm streaming that. It'll be awesome. All right, Cole, you got an F1 photo, reflect? You got anything that you want to be able to see? You want some Gino? Do you want some Mariners? Do you want some Ichiro? But I spent a lot of time with Paisley. Made sure my mental health was good, exercised. And I don't like taking a day off or 2 days off or even 3 days off in a week, but every once in a while, sometimes it's just good to be able to reflect and just try to step away from everything and make sure everything is good to go when you come back. And took Paisley to get her nails trimmed and dremeled and got her a wash today as well. So it's been a very successful day, and I missed you guys. Because, of course, I would have loved to go live with the Ichiro stuff. I hate missing days, but sometimes, I try to, do as many as I can. It's never due to laziness. There was times in the past where my mental health was terrible, and I had to step away, just mental health wise. But I haven't really been in that mode since I've had Paisley here. So which is good. Everyone has moments where things are, but again, sometimes, it's depending on how you can take news and react. But I was a little sad that Ichiro wasn't unanimous. I don't know if someone is racist or, someone is just being a hater, towards him for whatever reason. But, but Mariano Rivera came in unanimous. Derek Jeter should have beat 100%. Ichiro 100%. And Ken Griffey Jr. 100%. And I think that anyone that has watched baseball would agree, regardless if you're a Yankee fan or a Mariner fan or not. For the most part, from what we know, we know Griffey and Ichiro are class act people like Edgar Martinez. And Jeter might have had a very deep dating history with a lot of the celebrities, females in Hollywood. obviously being Derek Jeter, but for the most part, pretty damn well respected individual on and off the field, the way that he carries himself. Haven't really heard too much negativity about Derek Jeter. I always liked him. And, it's just sad that you get these writers that just have this whatever, image thing, or they don't want to, vote for a particular person for whatever reason. But all I know is Ichiro, class act on and off the field. Just, how could you not, make it unanimous? But, it is what it is, Because if I was just biased, I wouldn't say Jeter also, but it definitely, Jeter is 100% deserving. They changed the game. Ken Griffey Jr. changed the game. Ichiro Suzuki changed the game, right? Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro, Derek Jeter. I don't know if Mariano Rivera really changed the game. He was a dominant closer, but I think, to me, the other three are way more impactful. That Mariano Rivera definitely won them and closed out a lot of games for the Yankees to help them win World Series. One of the best closers of all time. Yes, he was, but he didn't have the same impact as Ichiro globally, or Derek Jeter or Ken Griffey Jr. Facts. Yeah, and obviously Ichiro is going to handle it classy, let's drink some sake and let's talk about why, but of course that person is never going to say it was me, But all true diehards know that, he was, deserving of it. And, it hurt him not getting in, because it's like you did everything the right way. And even when you do everything the right way, you can still have people hate you for whatever reason, whether it's his race, whether it's, some people said, oh, maybe Yankee fans, because Yankees and Mariners have a rivalry. Well, you got to remember, we traded him to the Yankees. So he actually played on the Yankees and the Marlins. So I don't know if it was necessarily like a Yankee writer, type of situation. But, I guess it really just depends on if you know your, baseball history and whatnot. But Ichiro is my guy, and obviously being Japanese American, and seeing Ichiro do Ichiro things, and Shohei Ohtani, may go down as the best baseball player ever, even with the gambling, and all that, obviously Pete Rose, great hitter, Ichiro, great hitter, Shohei Ohtani, Babe Ruth, being on pitching and hitting, Dodgers creating a super team while me and Reflect and a lot of the Mariner fans are just praying for a playoffs, But that's my guy right there, Ichiro Suzuki. It's like Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro, Edgar Martinez, they did it the right way. The way you're supposed to carry yourself on and off the field. Like, I don't root for guys that are suspect. Like Shedeur Sanders, I would never buy a jersey of a guy like that. Or, I want to be able to root for people that I feel that really care about other people and, that are committed to the game and that are a good person. Team people, not me people. And Ken Griffey Jr. and Ichiro have such a great bond of being such close friends. Jay Buhner is Griffey's best friend. But Ichiro is up there. Ichiro will even, you see him in interviews when they, congratulated each other. He'll call him by his real first name, George. So they always, like to be able to poke and prod at each other in a playful way. And I'm proud that even though the Mariners are the only team to never go to a World Series, we're the only team out of 30. We've never even gone and lost, right? But to be able to have classy guys like Edgar Martinez, the DH, like you think DH, you think of him, designated hitter, right? Ken Griffey Jr., the guy that didn't do the PEDs or the steroids, had 10 great years, then 10 years of being injured and got fat, came back to the Mariners, legend, icon, never cheated, right? And now we get Ichiro, played almost 10 years professional in Japan, combined the hits that he got in Japan, obviously in America, he's on that level with Pete Rose, that generational Tony Gwynn talent, amazing, again, and he has the most hits in a season. It's like anytime you can get something crazy where you're almost getting, 200, 250, 300, like you're getting into that crazy category of 232 to 262. That is insanity. I'm just so happy, but I am pissed that he didn't get in unanimous. But again, if Jeter and Griffey can't even get in unanimous, then obviously we'll wait and see when Shohei Ohtani becomes eligible. He probably won't get in unanimous. There'll probably be someone, whether it's Asian hate or whatever the reasoning, we'll see if Shohei is unanimous, or because if Shohei is not unanimous and they have one for him too, or two, it shows you the system is flawed. But we all know as fans, like, who is legit. Stay in the building. What's good, brother? All right, let me delete some of these photos here. And then we'll get into the NFC championship game and then AFC championship game. We're going to stream for probably 2 hours. We're at an hour 24. I was thinking about anytime we do a freestyle stream, 2 hours. If we get on some crazy dono train and we have a lot of people, maybe 3 hours, but we'll just kind of play it by ear. I didn't want to rush anything. I wanted to make sure that we gave Pete his due. And if we're not doing a game on stream, there's no time limits. People can come and go as they please, and we can go over the things that we want, and the people that want to be here and hang out with your boy will be here. And then we'll do another show tomorrow, and then we'll do a double dip on Sunday. Washington Commandos. Philadelphia Eagles. This is what we're going to go over here next, here on the championship game. Hold on, let me check the Blazers here real quick. All right, 96-90 with 30 seconds left. Fuck yeah, we're going to win 4 games in a row. Now, I know this sounds silly, right? But again, when you're a fan, of a team, not every, fan is going to go, NFC championship game, AFC championship game. Not all of us are Chief fans or Bills fans or Eagle fans or even maybe the lone Commander fan, right? But it's like, man, everyone wants to be able to have a winner, right? And again, when we go into this particular matchup with the championship game, Eagles and Commanders, we'll go based off some of the positions here, and I'll go over some information as well. We got Nia Jax running around on SmackDown. I'm getting distracted. I'm watching wrestling. I'm watching the Blazers. Game's almost over for the Blazers, so I'll have more attention here in a second. Now JT in the building. What's good? After much ado, the NFC Championship is finally upon us. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders rematching for a NFC East brawl that is going to send a perennial powerhouse back to the biggest stage, or we're going to get the future top 5 quarterback, Lamar Jackson in the NFC, right in front of your very eyes. To be able to make it to a Super Bowl in your rookie year is fucking insanity. But again, there is a possibility that it could be done. Now, if they were at home, much better chance than being on the road against Jalen Hurts in Philly. We know that, right? But who's it going to be? And you got to think. Running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. So if you look at the positions, Jalen Hurts might be, to most people, the better quarterback. But who's been playing better football as of late? Jaden Daniels. But he's on the road. And in one thing, when you watch the Philadelphia Eagles, right, when they're at home with that rowdy, drunk crowd, the defense will step up and make it uncomfortable for Jaden Daniels to play at his very best. So you have to think the advantage. Jalen Hurts, when he throws for less than 250 yards, they win. When he throws for over 250, they lose. So what that tells you, balanced offense with Saquon Barkley. The more that he throws and he has to be the guy, running with his legs for his life and extending plays, yeah, that can work to a degree. But now that you have Saquon Barkley, you want to make sure you use Saquon Barkley. So again, maybe better quarterback for now, but who's been playing better as of late? And it kind of feels like Jaden Daniels is going to pass Jalen Hurts like in the pecking order. He may not be there just yet, Most people have Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback. They have maybe Jaden Daniels right now as like a top 12, right? But based on how he's been playing and winning games, last possession, 5-6 games in a row, who's the hotter quarterback? It's Jaden Daniels, right? But you're going to be on the road. So you got to think the Philadelphia Eagle defense will make it a little bit more difficult. So I could still see Jaden Daniels having more, touchdowns and more yards and a better stat line, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win the game. Something to think of. Okay? Who's it going to be? Is it Saquon Barkley and the Eagles? Are they set to run all the way to the Super Bowl and to avenge the 2022 title game defeat? Or is it Jaden Daniels? Pristine resume. Another road upset? Is this Lamar Jackson? Could he be better than Lamar Jackson at some point? Again, we have to see the sophomore slump. CJ Stroud, we got to rave about him, but then going into his sophomore year, didn't look as good. More people had tape on him, and people aren't as hot on CJ Stroud as they were in his rookie year. But this guy feels different. It feels even better than CJ Stroud. That is a very rare compliment to give, to say that this could be better than CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud will probably always be a top 10 quarterback, but this guy has top 3, top 5 ability. Not many guys you can say that are coming right out of the gates. He's got the it factor. Bo Nix had a good season, but this guy has been super clutch. Now, will the Commanders' defense be able to slow down Saquon Barkley? Because Jaden Daniels will be able to, you would think, put up big numbers. But again, if the Philadelphia Eagle defense ends up having a great game plan against Jaden, which I assume they will, and being at home, again, this guy could have a stellar stat line, but that still may not be enough to win the game. But I think Philadelphia, if you look at their roster, and again, when you're in the AFC NFC championship game, and when you're in the divisional round, it's mostly home teams. When you end up, and this is just historically speaking, statistically, I do all my research, and I did, right? In the wild card round, in the earlier rounds, there is a better likelihood of an upset of a team on the road winning. But just like you saw in the college football playoff, no one won on the road. Everyone lost. A lot of teams lose, but sometimes you'll get one team, like that surprise team that can find a way to get hot, even winning on the road. Me against everyone, right? But I feel, with me, Diami Brown has been great. Saquon has been absolutely amazing, right? Probably player of the year. But if you look at the team, could the Commanders win the game on the road? Absolutely, they can. Can the Buffalo Bills win? Absolutely, they can. But the difference between can and will, is two different things. And I feel that, Jalen Hurts has been kind of shaky this year. But again, the reason why he's shaky is that they have less responsibility for him, not more. Instead of all the tush pushing, right? And all the scrambling, all the bootleg, all the play action. Now you got the best running back in the league, even better than Derrick Henry. More consistent week in and week out. And Derrick Henry is number 2. He's a beast. But Saquon Barkley, he's the one. He is the best. He is the most likely back in the NFL to get 100 yards and score a touchdown every game. Derrick Henry's up there too, but based on stats, this is number 1, right? And if they would have played him in the last game, probably would have broke Eric Dickerson's record. Okay? So again, you don't need to throw for over 250 yards. You don't need to throw for 300 and have 2 touchdowns and no picks, something like this, right? It can be under 250, 1 or 2 touchdowns, maybe even 1 on the ground, maybe not. We'll see. But with Saquon, the offensive line is great. One of the best in the league. That's why Saquon is beasting. Imagine if they had Kelsey still. Okay. Defense, very intimidating. Secondary, you use 2 draft picks, even though one guy might not play, the other probably will, right? You had some injuries to Mitchell But Cooper DeJean, awesome, right? And they got a good front seven. Jalen Carter, obviously, is a good fit for this particular Philadelphia Eagle team. So for me, I think it would be awesome, right? It would be fucking awesome to see this in the fucking Super Bowl year one. Like, it'd be history-making, groundbreaking, top 5. He's already in that conversation. You're a top 5 quarterback after your rookie year, and you're probably not going to move down. The lowest maybe 7th. Like, it just seems like you have the it factor, and you got Dan Quinn there. The team can only get better on the offensive line and the defense, and, we'll see where it goes. But Jalen, you look at what he has. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, right? Good offensive line. Defense, it's like, Vic Fangio. You got some stuff there. And again, home field advantage usually ends up, being a factor. So I like the Commanders, and I could see Jaden Daniels in my head. I visually could see him, having the games that he has had, against the teams in the playoffs and having that success. But I feel, every good story, at some point has to come to an end, either in the NFC AFC championship game or the Super Bowl. And I feel that it was a great run, great season, 12-5 record, winning game after game on the last possession. But I think that, he might have a better game than Jalen, but if that defense comes to play, he won't. And I got to think with Saquon Barkley, Washington will, probably have some plays in there to make it a little bit more difficult. But those drunk fans, they're in Philly, that home field advantage, and they haven't turned the ball over since like fucking November. Like, I really feel that, unless you get that freakish Bobby Wagner punch out play, which is possible, where they could end up having, hit the Quan Martin, someone makes that crazy pick 6 on Jalen or punches the football out, that's what you're going to need to beat Philly. So unless you get that special play, or get a pick 6 or a fumble for a touchdown or a special teams touchdown, you don't beat Philly in Philly. Warm weather teams don't do it unless you're Tampa. It's a great story, and again, regular season is one thing, but I have to think that the Philadelphia Eagles will be able to find a way, even if they only win by 1, 2, or 3. But I got the Philadelphia Eagles, even though I think that, this would be a cool story, and maybe they'll get another opportunity. Hopefully, maybe it'll be a Commanders-Ravens Super Bowl. Can you imagine that? Right? Jaden Daniels and Lamar. How awesome would that be? The NFC Lamar, the AFC Lamar. Like, you just have to be patient, And again, Lamar, has had some unfortunate bad luck with himself and with teammates not being able to get over the hump because there's so many good teams in the AFC. But at some point, before he retires, maybe we'll get a Jaden Lamar Super Bowl. But I got to go with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, there could be a number of scores, 27-24, 24-21, 27-22, 27-26, 23-22. I mean, it could be crazy, but again, I think that, the Commanders are going to, play well, but the deciding factor for me is going to be, the offensive line for Philly and the defense for Philly. And I feel like the coaching and the play calling and the fan base, the drunk fans, are going to give that extra edge. Now, if the game was in Washington, it definitely would be a much higher probability of them doing it because Jaden Daniels has been fucking really hot. You could argue right now that he's probably playing the best out of all the quarterbacks besides maybe Josh Allen. Like, right now, those are the quarterbacks that are playing well. Mahomes and Hurts are playing good at times, but also at times struggling. But again, their defenses have been able to bail them out when they haven't played like maybe we've seen them play in the past, Hurts and Mahomes. But if the team has, certain players that can do the job and they don't have to do as much, it's better to, give it up, responsibility rather than make the big turnover. You don't want to be the guy that has the pick 6 or the fumble and then your team loses the game. We've already seen certain guys, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold. It hasn't worked out too well for those guys. So that is my pick for the first game. And what do you guys think? What are your predictions? Let me see in the chat. If you're in the chat, I want you to give me the team, and then I want you to give me a Super Bowl score. And you could change your mind tomorrow or even the day of the games. But just like today, a number comes into your head. Just tell me a number. Put in, Commanders, Eagles, and then next to it, put in the score just right now. And it doesn't, this isn't for money or, who's right, who's wrong. Hell, I'll probably change my fucking score, tomorrow when I do the stream or maybe even the day of. But you let me know. I want to see where your guys' head is at. All right, take care. I'll be live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. And I'll start first with my prediction here. All right. I'm going E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles, 27-23. Sarah's going Eagles, 28-25. But I feel like a lot of the picks, like in our head, if we had our choice, I think a lot of people would be picking probably Commanders, Bills, or, picking Bills and Eagles, unless you are a Chief fan. Like, you just want something different, something new, but again, even if you don't like the Eagles or you love them, you hate them, Commanders, you love them, you hate them, you have to understand home field advantage, offensive line, who's got the better defense, who's got the home crowd, what do you got for coordinators? You got Washington with the upset, 28-20, and it could happen. Like, it wouldn't shock me the way that Jaden Daniels has been playing. If he plays the best out of the 4 quarterbacks this weekend, Washington could make history and be the first team, with like a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback to the fucking Super Bowl after being shitty for 30 years. They went 12-5. They've been winning the last 5 or 6 games in a row on the last fucking possession in the 4th quarter. If the game is close, they have a chance. Daniels has been hot, but can he do it on the road in the big stage? That's the real question. It's not like anyone doubts his abilities. We're actually kind of rooting for him to do it. I think that's what you know what I mean? Like, for me, I would, if I had my choice, the Eagles will make a better Super Bowl opponent, for the Chiefs or the Bills overall. But to see Jaden Daniels make history would be like a cool thing for me, But again, would Washington get, smacked around in the Super Bowl by the Chiefs or the Bills? Maybe some people would assume so, but if you can get that far, you never know when history is meant to be broken. It's like Joe Burrow making it, but hasn't made it since. So it's like, we get to see you on the big stage. And then once you end up having this particular season, whether it's rookie year, second year, third year, now we know the Tiger King, Joe Burrow, is like top 5. You're legit. So I think just a lot of us assume that this Jaden Daniels season would happen next year or the year after, not year 1. But, I think the Commandos Bills would be awesome. Eagles Bills, but again, sometimes what you want, right? Here, your heart and your brain are two different things. What your heart wants is one thing, but in your head, if you actually really think about it with no bias whatsoever, I feel that a lot of us usually can come to the conclusion. And obviously, some people can make a prediction just based on what they hope happens, even if they're not right. They just hoping, something crazy happens and like doesn't really give a shit about either team, but will pick like, the underdog, just hoping that it fucking happens. And, you never know. So Megan is hoping for just the crazy thing to happen. And you know what? And if you end up getting the correct score and they win, everyone will salute you, again, because it's like, if you don't care about either one, or you think that this is the team that could do it, and their luck won't run out, because, the luck sometimes will go all the way to the Super Bowl. The momentum doesn't die until you get to the Super Bowl. So, I think that the way that Jaden Daniels has been playing will give people confidence that if anyone can go into Philly besides Tampa, this guy can. He's already proven that he looks like a top 5 quarterback. So, it's, if any year it were to happen, maybe it's this year. I think he will have a great game. Yeah, but that's something that you're hoping for, but you know in your head, more than likely, you know what's going to happen. Yeah, it also depends on, how much you know about each team, and the more that you know about each team, I think then you can come to a certain kind of calculation or prediction. If you don't know as much, then it's, you're this team, that team, But again, if you, know the breakdowns of the quarterbacks and the running backs and the wide receivers and the coaches and the backups and the play calling and the scheme, some of us, are going to look at it at, a deeper level. So predictions are predictions, and that's what makes it fun. You can be someone like me that's a insane maniac that goes as deep as the hole will go. A blue pill, red pill, give me the matrix, whatever, and then others, will just maybe lightheartedly just make a pick, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So we'll see where it goes, but that's where I'm going. And this is definitely the X factor for me. I think this is definitely the X factor for Washington as well as their defense. But you just have to assume Saquon, he's just playing so special right now, and deserves not only to be the player of the year, but the NFL MVP, instead of just offensive player of the year. I mean, he's played good enough to actually get the NFL MVP over a quarterback. Think about that for a second. Not many players have done that, so talk tomorrow. And then next up on the slate, AFC Championship game, Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. This one is going to be interesting because a lot of us, at some point or another, rooted for Josh Allen, either at Wyoming, before he got Stephon Diggs, after Stephon Diggs, again, whether you just got sick and tired of Taylor Swift and the Chiefs winning, but eventually, if you're good enough, long enough, you will turn into the villain. It used to be the Patriots and the Chiefs were the good guys, right? The Jedi, and then obviously the Sith, was the Patriots. And then now the roles have been reversed. The Bills are now the Jedi and the Chiefs are the Sith. Right? So it's like at some point, they are going to be able to win at some point. But the problem is with the Buffalo Bills, right? They win during the regular season, right? But during the postseason, it's been tough, right? And you got to think Patrick Mahomes at home, right? The referees and the way they've been dictating calls. But again, Josh Allen, right? Better 2024 regular season than Patrick Mahomes, averaged more yards per attempt, threw for more touchdowns, fewer interceptions, took fewer sacks, created more explosive plays, added more expected points per drop back, right? No one is possible that they can say any other quarterback is better than Mahomes, right? But what he's been able to be capable of and in the playoffs, you have to think at home, right now, who's been playing the better football? Josh Allen, but Patrick Mahomes at home in the playoffs, the record is it's crazy. Running back, obviously you got to give, I feel, the advantage to James Cook. I think that both are great, but again, home field advantage might dictate the type of performance that we get out of James Cook. Sometimes we see James Cook at home, but on the road, he doesn't look the same. So again, for the Bills to have any chance, Josh Allen has got to play like he's playing at home, and so does James Cook. But I don't think that the Pacheco-Kareem Hunt comparison is that far behind. But if we're looking at one, I think James Cook has proven that, the running back is better for the Buffalo Bills. Pass catchers, pretty easy. Chiefs. The Bills have pretty good ones with Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman and a few others, but I think as far as pass catchers overall, you got to go with the Chiefs. And I'll show you the X factor. LA Knight, yeah. But DeAndre Hopkins, hasn't really got to a point in his career like this. And again, we know Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, they don't have to have the best game for their team to win. Their teams have the better defense, right? Buffalo, right, doesn't really have a defense all the time. Neither does Washington. But what we can say that they both have played better as of late defensively, both teams, right? They've played, at least average to above average defense, not average or bad, right? But Mahomes to DeAndre Hopkins, this could be the piece that ends up scoring a touchdown or getting a big first down in against the Bills or in the Super Bowl. And I don't think that they'll shy away. And of course, you got Xavier Worthy and you got Travis Kelce, right? But that's expected. They expect it to go there. You just got to try to catch them off guard. But as far as the wide receivers and tight ends, advantage, Chiefs. LA Knight on the mic. And even though he hasn't been as dominant, right? You never, ever, guys are going to go through their prime and, you're seeing Mahomes, 5,000 yards, 40, 50 touchdowns. And then all of a sudden you see almost half of that, stat line, either touchdown wise. The yards might still be, 3,000, 4,000. But, will he ever be the quarterback that we saw when he had Tyreek? And whatnot. And it seems like they both have kind of slowed down. It's a different type of team. But, if you got guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers that are going to go down as the Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski equivalent, they always step up in the biggest games in the playoffs. So it's like you can win in the regular season against the Chiefs, but on the road, unless you're at home, it's very difficult, right? And you just always assume that he's going to make a big play or, get a touchdown at some point or another. Next up, offensive line. See if I can find a good one. Here we go. I got to put them in their element. All right, so offensive line, I got Bills. Okay, so Kansas City, their weakness at the tackle spots are just very evident. Okay, and they slid Joe Thuney outside to solidify the left tackle spot, but the right tackle spot and just everything that they've been doing, it just hasn't really been too pretty. And again, it's almost kind of crazy to think with the offensive line being so shaky. Oh, Patrick Mahomes has looked a little shaky. I wonder if there's a coincidence there. If your O-line is shaky, your quarterback that normally is a little bit more trustworthy gets shaky. This guy's stats, aren't as spectacular as they were. But again, when it comes down to not turning the ball over, executing on third down, and playing smart football, it might not be sexy, and explosive. And it might just be barely. But if that's what it takes to get to the Super Bowl, that's what's going to happen. But as far as offensive line, the Buffalo Bills, dancing twins, I give you the check mark. Defensive line, oh gosh, that's easy. And this is important too. So we're going over Raiders. Pete Carroll, NFC championship game preview and predictions. And I'm going over each position group because most people won't. I go deep on this. Okay. Defensive line, duh. Who is it? Chris Jones. Who? Chris Jones. One of the most dominant players at the position. Aaron Donald is retired. When you start with Chris Jones, it's double teams galore. But Carl Laftis, right? McDonough, Omenihu, Mike Pennell, right? Rosso, Von Miller, Epinesa, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips. So, the Chiefs and the Bills, there's names, right? There's some wreckers out there, game wreckers. But when the Chiefs are at home, right? When the Chiefs are at home, we know that it seems like they really find a way to bail out, this guy right here. If the offensive line isn't doing good, maybe even the play calling is not very good, but it's ugly. But, again, someone like a DeAndre Hopkins has been waiting for this moment for his entire life. Again, easy to go to Travis Kelce, in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. But it would be smart for the Chiefs to look this way because he'll probably be open. Xavier Worthy, Kelce, Mahomes even using his own legs. Don't forget why you signed this player, especially if he could have a moment, right? Captain in the building, what's good? But again, at home, Chris Jones, Chiefs. Linebackers. Linebackers, I'm going Bills because this guy's back. Matt Milano. Anyone that watches the Bills or watches football knows that they are much better when he's on the field. When he's on the field, they're flying around. When he's not on the field, you can feel it. And it's one thing, to have Von Miller, he'll make a play here and there, but it's not like every, single game he's making multiple big plays anymore. But Matt Milano seems like he might be close to full strength, right? And we'll see what Bernard and, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Leo Chenal, they're good, right? We know those guys are good, especially Nick Bolton. And we know Chenal and Tranquill can make plays, right? But as far as just position groups, which one am I taking? Which one do I think is better, at the moment? So I'll go Bills. But it's pretty close. Because again, Milano and Bolton are both game wreckers. But again, it's about the supporting cast. I think you can go Buffalo there. And then secondary. Oh, you already know what it is. If you know me. Because I'm not biased. I just call it how I see it. So defensive line, Chiefs, advantage. Linebackers, Buffalo. Secondary, you already know what it is. Chiefs, Trent McDuffie. They don't even have L'Jarius Sneed, and obviously they could have really used them, this season, right? And some of Buffalo's secondary is greater than the sum of its parts because Sean McDermott, the way that they play, right? But Kansas City, Jalen Watson is back. That helps. Trent McDuffie, best player in the defensive backfield, right? So they got a well-balanced group in Buffalo, but I think Chiefs at home, McDuff, and then Watson is back, and I know some people was like, who the hell is Trent McDuffie or Jalen Watson? Either you know or you don't, but if you know football, Huskies, baby. it's cool seeing Ducks and Huskies, or even like Megan's Trojans, like seeing players like actually pan out, instead of people saying, all your guys just go to the NFL and they suck. It's like, it's cool to be able to have like guys that go to the NFL after playing on our favorite college teams and they actually are good. It's like, see, we got guys that are good. We got the Amon-Ra St. Browns, right? We got the McDuffs. We got the Bucky Irving and the Jalen McMillans. Advantage chefs. And then specialists. All right. Secondary, Chiefs. Linebackers, Bills. Defensive line, Chiefs. Specialists. And if you don't know what I'm talking about special teams. Kickers, punters. At home, you got to go Harrison Butker. Tyler Bass, has had some struggles. Every kicker has struggled. I don't even trust fucking Harrison Butker. But if it's Harrison Butker at home compared to Harrison Butker on the road, then, I would probably flip. I would probably say Bass if the game was in Buffalo, Butker, but again, Bass's struggles this season. They both have had some moments, but I think that, if we're talking about punting units, return units, you might be able to get a little bit more return yards with some of Buffalo's return men, but I think when it comes down to extra points and field goals and, who do you trust? And even though Butker might not be top 5 anymore, he might have gone down to being like a top 12 kicker, or top 10 kicker. Like there might be other guys as of late that you would trust a little more, but he's got the experience to play in the clutch. So I think that it would be pretty fair to say that Butker could choke, but the chance of Tyler Bass doink one right off the goalpost, a little bit higher, probability, maybe 60-40 probability, a little higher to doink one or fuck one wide left or wide right. So I'm going to go Chiefs with the specialist. So is this what you're hoping for, or is this really what you truly believe? Because what you believe is going to happen and what you're hoping that's going to happen is two different things. So you're hoping the Commanders do it because you just don't want to see the Eagles there, and you want to be able to see Commanders Bills for your Super Bowl. You're sick and tired of the teams that have already gone. Is that it? Could happen. So for me, again, I think I just like everyone, when you see too much of one team, unless it's your team, Patriots for 20 years, now Chiefs, and, sometimes, you want to see a change, right? And you can win in the regular season, okay? But again, for Buffalo, I feel like they could do it, just like Jaden Daniels. Like you could do it. NFC Championship game. You have the skill set and you've been playing hot lately. You could do it. Will your luck run out in this game or the Super Bowl? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But I feel when it comes to AFC, NFC Championship game, and the deeper that you go, refs have been a factor. Mahomes knows how to, use the refs in his advantage. The game can be close. It wouldn't even surprise me if Buffalo went up 14-0 or 10-0 to start off the game. But I feel at home, the record for them in the playoffs compared to, during the regular season, you might be able to win in the regular season, but until, and again, they have James Cook now. And I've been saying, man, it's like once they get a running back that's top 5, top 10, that might be it. But, offensive line, defense, there's some pieces there like Milano, right? But it's more Chiefs heavy. There's some things to get excited about, to jump up and down, and again, I think a lot of us are kind of praying and hoping that we get Josh Allen, finally does it, and Jaden Daniels has his moment, But again, I feel with me, I would love to see a change. I also love seeing history, but also I think we've kind of seen a little bit too much, right? Of the same thing over and over. It's like, especially when you think a guy is deserving like Josh Allen or Lamar or Joe Burrow, you're kind of rooting for like the other guy to have success. Tom Brady. But a lot of us were like, fuck, I hope Peyton Manning wins at least one, because he's so good, right? We root for that guy, even if it's not your favorite player or your favorite team. Like, when a guy is super Hall of Fame good, but he's just one guy is super dominant or a team, and sometimes, you got to get past this. So Josh Allen has been playing better football than Patrick Mahomes, right? But it just seems like, in the playoffs, a different player comes out, and again, they're very focused. They haven't turned the ball over since a goddamn November, it seems like. Again, they got weapons at wide receiver, tight end, D-line, secondary, specialists. You got the best coach in Andy Reid. You got Spags. So again, I think it would be really cool. I would be really excited if this happens, and this happens. Commanders, Bills, like the least likely shit to happen. And then the second would be probably Bills, Eagles or something like that. Or, Commanders, Chiefs, or Commanders, Bills. But Commanders, Bills would be the most shocking because it would be both road teams winning. Oh my God, he won it as a rookie. And then Dan Quinn is a first-year coach. Oh my God, he finally did it. He beat Patrick Mahomes, right? But I feel at home, it's a different story, and maybe you need to be the number one seed to get that, path through Buffalo, and maybe that's when it happens. And fuck, man, I really hope it happens, for you sooner than later. But I can't go against, the Chiefs and the way that the refs are dictating some of the games, history, possible three-peat. So, I know it's not everyone's favorite team, and some of us would love a change, but the Chiefs at home, a little bit too hard to beat. And again, I look for the teams that have O-line, D-line, defense coaching, play calling, and the two teams that, have the defense. You got one on the Philadelphia Eagles, and then you got one with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I got to go Chiefs Eagles. I know a lot of people don't want to see that rematch. They would love any combination of Commanders and Bills to get in, if not both. But that's the direction that I have to go. That's, not necessarily what I want, but that's what I think is going to happen. Yeah, it sounds like they'll bring Salah back. And really the main X factor on top of everything, people want to say, oh, Mahomes, oh, the defense, oh, the secondary or the special teams. But really one thing for me also that doesn't get talked about enough, Andy Reid is one of the greatest of all time. Sean McDermott will be forgotten. They're not on the same category. So if you had like a Sean Payton, on the Bills, or a Jim Harbaugh coaching the Bills, then I would feel maybe this is the year that it happens. Maybe that's enough for Josh Allen. But again, this combination right here of him and Spags is pretty fucking special. Sirianni kind of acts immature and acts like a kid and likes to flip off, fans and shit. He's like, kind of skating by with Roseman and, again, the GM and the ownership are going to let shit behavior kind of be sketchy at times if you're winning. But they definitely can get someone better than Sirianni. I don't think Sirianni's like Hall of Fame, definitely replaceable. But, this is a very special coach that coached many, many locations, but had his most success with the Eagles, 4 straight NFC Championship games and doing all this crazy shit with Kansas City. So we got Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl. I mean, but if it ends up being anything different, you going to get any complaints from me? Fuck no. If the Commanders win, cool. If the Bills win, awesome. Whatever happens, happens. So I saw that. That came up on my timeline. I'll throw a Detlef photo up for you. And then boom, see, that's what Pete Carroll wants. AFC championship. Yeah, but we know. You just got to be able to get settled in. Looking good, Pete. I like this thumbnail too, because I wanted to make sure I got the stadium. I had to get a good one. Big photo of handsome Pete. Glasses or no glasses. I had to give you some kind of cool looking arrow that I've never used before. Big team logo. And then you got to have my, obviously, NFL right down the middle. Everyone knows it's me. No text on the thumb at all, which I kind of like. Sometimes they're meant for words to be on the thumb, like when I'm doing a live play-by-play and reactions. But if we're just doing like a topic, it doesn't have to be on there. It looks cleaner without and no words on there. Facts. Looking good, Pete. Said thanks, O-Dog. I'm coaching somewhere better than the Bears. Good luck. You're going to need it. Ben Johnson. I'm looking forward to this right here, baby. I mean, all four coaches have won a championship. No other division has that kind of history or depth. Harbaugh, Michigan, but maybe one day he'll win one with Herbert. You never know, right? That's the goal he's trying to achieve. And Pete Carroll had some great success at USC and obviously with the Hawks. Sean Payton with the Saints, but now with the Broncos. And Andy Reid is Jesus Christ. Andy Reid. But you never know what could happen. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be tired, but I'm really excited to watch like a Lamar 2.0, and again, if he has a good game against that Philly defense, then everyone will be like, man, he's top 5 already out of his rookie year. And that's something that you'll not really be saying that often, I mean, even if they ended up going to the Super Bowl and then they lost then to the Chiefs, like Commanders and Chiefs. Commander-in-Chief. Interesting. But I like teams, O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling. And again, O-line, D-line is super important. And defense especially. And again, the Eagles got one. Chiefs got one. The other two teams, not so much. But again, you never know how the flow of the game will go. Hold on, honey. Yes, you got your nails trimmed and your body washed, and you look so pretty, and you got some salmon treats from Dad, and we went on long walks, and you got some toys. Everything is good in your life. Dad loves you. Jalen Carter wouldn't have probably been a very good fit in Seattle, but in Philadelphia, he's edgy, and again, sometimes they go for athletes that might possibly get into some trouble. But as far as his play on the field, he's been exactly what Philly has needed. And again, a lot of the draft picks from Alabama and Georgia have panned out. And Cooper DeJean, you don't really see too many great white hypes play corner. You'll see some play safety, but he has been the most successful one since Jason Sehorn. We haven't had too many like great white hype corners. It's usually a position dominated by the brothers, and he's damn good at it too. Represent Sarah, pretty cool. And again, but if they didn't go with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, if you don't go that route, the Eagles are not where they're at right now either. Like, how many teams would be that smart, to go that route where you're going to go for two corners? Like, you better hit if you're doing that. From Toledo, too. No, they hired Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. But, this is my opinion, about things. When you hear me talk about, football, it's like no bias. I just say it how I truly believe it. I don't have any agenda. I don't need to make anybody happy, or, I'm not going to be able to make everyone happy, and I'm not going to say something I don't believe in. Some people may believe, they may not believe, but again, I'm going to be a straight shooter. And this is a very exciting NFC championship game, because for a team that's been bad for 30 years to be able to get the next big thing quarterback, love it, man. I wish he was on Tampa. I got Baker Mayfield, but if I didn't have Baker Mayfield, this is the quarterback that I would want on my team. That's how much I think of him. And Jalen obviously doesn't have to, be the man. You just don't throw a pick six. Don't fumble it. Let Saquon, the offensive line, and the defense win the game. That's pretty much the game plan. Jaden, he's got to do everything. He's got to run the ball. He's got to pass the ball. He's got to go to Diami Brown, Scary Terry, Zach Ertz. You got to get good running game out of Robinson and Eckler. You got to do a little bit of everything, and you got to pull some magic out of your ass because you're just fucking goddamn special. This guy is going to be very popular and very likable. He's going to be how people talk about Lamar in a positive way. They'll be talking about him in that same breath, with all these QBs at the top of the board. I could definitely see him being, top 3, top 5. Because to me, he already plays like a top 5 quarterback already. If you want to put him top 10 and let him earn his stripes, fine. But depending on how far he goes, we'll determine, is he top 10 or is he top 5? And it kind of feels like, he could be a top 5 quarterback. He's not him and Bo Nix, pretty special. And we got to see a good chunk. We're going to get Michael Penix Jr. I think this quarterback class is going to be very special. Damian Priest and Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown. I might start doing SmackDown live stream watch parties. We do Raw now, but I wanted to go over Pete Carroll. Okay. Raiders. Pete Carroll. And then obviously the NFC championship game with a rookie in it. And it's not like a fluke rookie that's not that good. The guy is superstar on and off the field. His mom shoos away all of the girls that are trying to make the money off of him. Mama says no. He does VR. He cares. This guy is going to be a superstar. Okay? Not Tyreek Hill. Okay? 10 girlfriends, 10 kids. Come on. Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. You had your time to shine. Now it's your time to be a game manager and not fuck it up. Let everyone else win the game. You still have your moments. But this is going to be special. Even if he loses, he already makes Washington fun to watch. Where it's oh, wow. I want to watch this guy play because he's different. Yeah. Special. Pete looking good. I know the Bills want a party. And it could happen. I'd be excited if it fucking happens this weekend. James Cook might be, and we'll find out if this is the difference. If James Cook is the difference, we'll find out. But again, it's got to have to be a special game, right? And they could even be ahead early, but you can't lose momentum in the third and fourth quarter, which the Chiefs own. Don't be surprised if it ends up being 14-0, 10-0 Bills early on. But a lot of times in Chief games, Patrick Mahomes has got one of the best records down by 10. If you get down by 10 in the playoffs, everyone else stinks and they lose. And when Patrick Mahomes gets down by 10 in the playoffs, they most of the time come back and win. So we'll see what happens. At some point, the chips will fall, but I don't know. I know everyone wants this right now. And if it happens, great. But it might have to be, you have to have the best record. You have to be 14-3. The playoffs go through Buffalo. The Big Five gets broken up. Andy Reid, Spags, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, then maybe it happens. Unless you guys do it this year. But if it does, this is going to be a big reason. James Cook, this offensive line, having a potty, Matt Milano, those are your advantages. Everything else is kind of Kansas City. So you got to see how this guy's got to have fucking 14 tackles and an interception. They got to dominate the whole fucking game, right? This guy's got to get 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy's got to be a fucking animal. And he's got to have 3 or 4 touchdowns. He's got to run in for 1, fucking throw for 3, not throw any picks, and just be the man, and he's played great. Him and Lamar and Saquon, those are the guys, right? We're like, oh my God, these guys have been playing some ball, right? Saquon, Allen, Lamar. So we'll see what happens. SmackDown. But I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it on here. But yeah, it looks like we might be able to do SmackDowns on Fridays for a live stream option now, starting today. So pretty cool. Yeah, but the thing is, if they win, this is what I'm going to tell you right now, okay? This is exactly the layout because this is how history has laid it out. If Jaden Daniels beats the Philadelphia Eagles, right, and they win the NFC Championship game and he goes to the Super Bowl, 100% that they will lose to the Chiefs. Like if it ended up being Commanders-in-Chief, government, Commander-in-Chief. If we get this, right, and then you end up getting this, it's going to be Chiefs. You're not, so again, you have a good story, but the good story will eventually fizzle out. It just depends if it's going to be in the championship game or the Super Bowl. But usually that big history doesn't happen right away. Like you have to understand if Jaden Daniels ended up winning the whole thing, like how crazy that would be. Like, all the guys that were talking about CJ Stroud and all these other guys that people are hoping for that next big superstar, you'd be looking at it right there, and looking at all the teams that passed that could have had him, like the Giants and quite a few others, right? Sometimes you have to have the right coach and the right supporting cast, but again, the player was great in college. Winning the Heisman didn't hurt him, based off his confidence. It's not too much pressure for him to be a bust. If anything, he wants to be the best number 1 pick. He wants to be the best number 1 pick ever. Like the guy that won the Heisman that actually fucking panned out, not like all the others like Jameis and Marcus Mariota that didn't, right? Like we might be staring at the next top 5, top 3 quarterback, maybe one day the best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, would we really be that surprised? He's got a skill set that looks like it could be like a Lamar Jackson. He can run, he can throw, and you would assume his accuracy will get better, more yards, more touchdowns, less mistakes, smarter, does VR, cares about teammates, shoot girls, tell them, mama, if you're talking about electricity, I'll tell you where to look. It's right here. But again, if they were to beat the Eagles, 100% they would lose in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, that's kind of what happens, Jared Goff, sometimes that good story comes to an end. It's not going to go all the way. I mean, then if that would happen, that would be such a crazy thing. And you know me, I'm not, biased. And like I said, if I think that, a unit is good or bad, we'll say so, but again, I'm not going to hype up someone or talk up, unless I really feel that they deserve to be talked about that way. Some issues, we know where to point, some people are good and, sometimes we're like this. Oh, Paisley, he knows. I'm excited. How about you? Are you excited, Paisley? NFC AFC championship game? That means Daddy's going to have to work for 7 hours straight, and you're not going to like that. But you can hang out with me though. All right, honey, hold on. All right, so I figured we're going to do maybe do some food here for like the last 6-7 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. And then tomorrow I'll be live at 5, and then obviously Sunday I'll be doing both games. So I'll make sure I make the thumbnail. I have to make the thumbnails a day in advance because I'm not going to have time when waking up early. So she's a happy girl. We're going to go on another walk here in a second. I feel like Mexican food. I think we're going to go that route. So we're going to do food here for like the last few. But we're going to do more freestyle streams. There's going to be certain things that I'll be watching, whether it's wrestling or basketball or hockey, but I thought that was going to be a full-scale photo, but it didn't stretch the right dimensions. But you get the idea. Oh, street tacos. I've been craving pad thai and street tacos. Sure. Nice. Take it easy, reflect. I know the Ducks and the Huskies played a couple days ago. I think Ducks ended up winning that matchup. But I always try to, I'm not going to watch a lot, but I'll try to tune in a little bit, especially since we're getting closer to March Madness. I like to keep up on Pacific Northwest teams a little bit more. Detlef, bring back the Sonics, baby. I got you. Damian Priest. I don't know if I like Damian Priest on SmackDown. I think I like him more on Monday Night Raw. He's more of a Monday Night Raw like wrestler. It's like a talent that deserves to be on Raw, but they're trying to even out the roster so there's still popular people on SmackDown, even though they deserve to be on Raw. But it's like kind of a demotion. I mean, depending on the show. There's your Detlefs. I appreciate you. Man, Det 62. Det is a handsome fella. He's young looking still. All right, I got to look at nachos real quick. And then we're going to be out of here in a second. I got to go eat. I got to take Paisley on a walk. She misses her dad. Man, a good nacho will change your life. Like I can't describe to you, especially if you haven't had it in a while. And sometimes, like making them yourself, can be just as good as a restaurant. No problem. I'm going to go over the photos one more time. Pete Carroll of the Raiders. I like the little arrow graphic. I had to look for a long time to find the one that I thought looked the best. A preview to come on how some of the thumbs will look in the future. Most are going to have the text when we do the games, but we're just doing like freestyle stuff. There may or may not be wording there. Oh man, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Saquon, James Cook, D-Hop, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Bills offensive lineman dancing like it's a party, Chris Jones, Matt Milano, Trent McDuffie, Huskies, Bucker, but the difference, Andy Reid, Jalen Carter, Cooper DeJean, perfect draft picks, and oh yeah, tacos. Well, I appreciate you guys very, very much. Thank you for hanging out. And again, we'll be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific, either for just a recap of the AFC NFC Championship game, just to kind of get together for an hour or two. And then obviously we'll be grinding it out on Sunday for both games on the stream. So I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. And I got one question for you. Talk sports like us, your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang.